end. So if you were in the beginner's workshop, this is more of that, but with more detail. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. And so we'll do data export for maybe 45 minutes, and then we'll break. After lunch, when we return, we'll talk about the new 1.8.3 features, like the admin dashboard, and talk about real-world execution. Um, but the data export section is myself, Jeff, and Mike. Now, on that slide just shows what I just said. All right, so data export in i2b2. And I showed this slide yesterday, but just to recap, we started on the data export journey in version 1.8.1. 1.8 has had a new UI, new administrative tools, and data export. Those are kind of the three pillars of 1.8. In 1.8.1, we rolled out something that gave you line-level data export. So if you know what the i2b2 fact table looks like, the exports that we created looked like that, but were subsets that only included, say, diagnoses or whichever you chose, and only on your patient cohort. And that feature has been enhanced and put into the new version of i2b2. Then in 1.8.2, we added an advanced data delivery. It allows you to create custom analytic tables, which transform the fact table back into something that looks more like Excel. But this is really good for specific analyses, not when you're trying to do data exploration, cohort finding, but when you actually want to be finding the mean value of hemoglobin A1C for diabetic patients over a 3-year period, you can now define that in a custom analytic table. The workflow is this. So you starting on the left, the person defines their analytic table, and I'll show a few screenshots of that. Mike will demo that. Then they develop a cohort query, and when you run the cohort query, and you get that pop-up that says run query with all the options like age, gender, breakdowns, and whatnot, there's a whole new section for data export requests. And these show you the line level items that have been defined in that project. So there might be an export demographics, export diagnoses, export procedures, and then the custom data tables are below that. And those show all of the custom data tables that have been defined by you, the user, by the project manager. So the manager of the project can define tables that are accessible to everyone in that project, and the system administrator can define system level data templates as well. Then the person submits their data request, and a manager gets a notification and goes into the data export manager, which is another tool that we built. And they can look at all of the pending data requests, choose whether to accept that, generate the file, and then they can use whatever institution-specific policies they have to retrieve the file and send it back to the user, probably with some kind of secure FTP. And then they can also choose to annotate the data request with comments that the user will see, or they can reject the data request. And then those files are generated and passed back to the user. This is a slide showing that you can do long fact tables or wide analytic tables. This is an example of the definition for one of the long fact tables. So you could define custom breakdowns in i2b2 for a while now that will generate a bar graph based on a custom SQL query that an administrator puts into i2b2. So we've extended that to the data requests. So now the data export can be based on a SQL query that the administrator defines. So this one is exporting medications. in fact table format. Then I'm going to show the custom table builder in screenshot form. So this is what the table builder looks like. You get some defaults that are defined by the sysadmin or the i2b2 admin. And by default, those are gender, age, race, and ethnicity. That can all be configured on the back end through the database. And then if you have version defined in the ontology, then you can put the versioned item into the table, yeah. So it depends on how you model version. If we do the thing that Sean was saying is often done, where you put the code, the version in the code, then the ontology would reference that code in order to make it queryable. And then by dragging in that version code item from the ontology, you get that version in the table. Does it do that? Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. If the ontology is updated, does the table automatically get the new subfolders? Yeah, so if someone puts diagnoses in their table definition, it uses the path dynamically. So because yeah, yeah, right. Oh,
The path is the key in the ontology in i2b2. It is not the code. So when you have a new version, you're responsible if you want to distinguish one version from another to create a new path, which we usually do with a v1 in it or a v2 or something like that. And then if you wanted to distinguish itself when you do a query, the code in the fact table needs to be modified in such a way that the new path maps to the code. How can you reference it in your publication? You really can't do that in i2b2 because i2b2 does not have a standard ontology. Every i2b2 can adopt its own ontology, and that allows it to adapt to all kinds of local coding systems and to new kinds of data like patient-reported outcomes and so forth. In some of the network ontologies like that Michelle's talking about, she very specifically adheres to all the standard ontologies because she wants it to be interchangeable with OMOP and achieve some of what you're talking about where you want to be able to say you're using this code or that code. But that's not a requirement of i2b2. i2b2 is much more focused on being adaptable to the local site and being able to hold on to the local site's data with its full integrity.
all right.
No, that was an architectural decision made at the inception of i2b2. Yeah.
Okay, so the table builder gives you these cool aggregation options. This expands depending on the type of thing you dragged over into the ontology. So in standard non-value oriented things like diagnosis codes, you can choose the number of concepts. So if you drag over diabetes, the number in the cell in your analytic table will be the number of different types of diabetes codes that are in their record. Number of dates, number of encounters, number of facts. A number of facts then, in contrast, would be the number of times any diabetes code appears in in the record, number of providers, first date and last date. There are additional aggregation options for like lab values and other value-oriented elements like the mean, the median, the lowest, highest. So it's really quite flexible. And this is based on a version that was built for the biobank portal at MGB. So it's been used, this design system has been used in a lot of, by production users. What is it?
How would we approach the idea of an encounter group on top of this? So let's say a group of encounters that went with, you know, a complex care single visit on a day. Mm-hmm. Is that a post hoc that we would do on the output to generate a new parameter encounter group?
Yeah, so some other work that I'm doing with all of us, we're trying to define the limits of an inpatient encounter, because an inpatient encounter has a lot of specific sub-encounters, and trying to find that like meta encounter that encompasses it all that's a post-processing thing. And so then you can choose your data table or your line level data. And then the data manager can go into the data request management tool that I was talking about. This is a larger screenshot where you may actually be able to read it. And you can see that it tells you a bit about the data request. You can click on the link for more definition of the query. You can change the status to withdrawn or rejected or accepted. And then when you're looking at the overview of data requests, you can quickly see what requests have happened, what their status is, and you can choose to create file that accepts the data request, generates the file, puts it on the file system, and then each institution has their own policies on how to get that data to the requester. This is an example file of, this is from the asthma, the 133 patient demo set. So it's the famous fake data that has been with i2b2 since near the beginning. But you can see it has various things. It has dates. It has counts of probably facts. It has, I thought there was an aggregation in here, but I don't see one. And I put a little tag that says Mike there, so I'll let Mike, if you're up for talking about the Hive cell params, and then we'll move into a demo after Mike goes into some of the configurability on the admin side, on the back end of the data export tool.
So welcome. So this thing is like very potent. Okay, so we created this Hive cell param. It used to be in the past in 1.6. Everything was in configuration files. We moved that all into the database. So everything's now in the Hive cell param. So then when we did the export, we made it so that you can configure however you want to configure where the file is going to be located, what the file name is going to be, what the file directory structure is, whether it has the Qt master ID in it, the project. So normally I have like the project in there, and then I use the query master ID so it doesn't clobber anything. And that's all within the Hive cell params, and that's what this is talking about. And it basically says that when you put it in there, you put like squiggly brackets and the parameter value, and so then that's the description. And then this is just this is setting up the where the email gets sent to. So for us, it would be like smtp.partners.org and then the port. And then this is just really in detail about what the parameters, like how elaborate you can make it. I'm not going to go into great detail with it. And then the other part is, as Jeff had earlier, with that SQL command, SQL statement, that all goes into the Qt breakdown path. And so you have the name of whatever you want to call it, my medications, and then in the example, it would have the whole select statement. Query tool. What? No, not Qt. It's query tool. And then you also have to have a reference into your Qt result type where you have, this is what the user will actually see when that pop-up shows up. And then the visual attributes, we created a couple of new ones, one like LR for the data request, and then the LX for the data exports. And as with all the other breakdowns, right now it all goes to the query result patient download, but you can create your own custom one, class file. I guess it's the live demo now. We're at the live demo, okay, great. Can I use this machine? Oh.
Step in order there. I hide. And then we need to. Okay, now we can see it.
No, I think it can. You can make it just. How do I? Oh, we can do. Oh, like a full screen would. Yeah. But it. Okay.
Okay, so. So if you were part of the introduction to i2b2 earlier, we had talked about projects. And so in here, we have multiple projects. This is kind of a testing environment. I'm going to select Act 9, as this one is what we've been using for the data export. And as I mentioned earlier, you can have announcements. Okay, so I'm just going to do, first I'm going to create a data request. I'm going to go here to export. Then I'm going to create data table. So this is how Jeff had earlier. He had said that these defaults to gender, age, and race. These are the default ones. You can add the custom pivoted tables as you want. So, and you see numbers like 11,000, 36,000. This is all, we created something called a Cynthia data set, which is from MITRE, and you can create your data set. It's all fake data. As big or as small as you want. You can have it as 100 patients, or you can have 100 million patients. And there were parameters within the creation that kind of made it look pseudo-realistic. So that's why, but it's also, there was only a certain amount of ICD-10 codes that they use. So in your institution, you probably have like 1,000 of them. In here, there's only 10 that we use. But now, I'll drag this over, and then the existence, as we talked about, it's like yes or no. I'll just do number of accounts for that one. And what else should I do? It can use any ontology in the ontology, in the metadata.
If you have an IMO ontology.
Yeah, it would use I don't know, do a date for this one? What?
Everyone.
I guess it's gonna do, anyway, as you can see, you could do dates.
Pick something else for one of the others, like number of facts or concepts.
I do number of
You haven't-
concepts.
You did number of concepts.
I do number of facts.
You did number of facts.
Okay, great. Okay, so then we have three different ones, and we have a default one.
Oh, do a lab value.
Oh, do a
actually.
lava. Oh, that's going crazy.
I know. Actually, it's hard to find lab values with metadata.
Chemistry.
Go down. Because it's like electrolyte.
A little bit. Oh, color. I think I can probably just try that. Okay, not doing that one because I want to do this one, which,
There we go.
aha, yes. Okay, so we're going to find anyone less than what? What number should we pick? What number should we pick? 100? 10? 10? 100. We have a, okay, so anyone who is less than 100. Okay, so now we have less than 100 milligrams per deciliter. Okay, so now we need to save this so that we can actually use it. And we are going to call it i2b2 June 2nd. Okay. So that was successfully saved. So now you can use it. And in the, you can load tables, and in, here, let me maximize this a little bit. You have all my tables, which is the ones that we created. So we have, this is the one that we just created right now. The June 10th was the one I did in that room over there. And then these are just various ones. This is Nick Bennett's testing. This is Mike testing. This is Jeff testing. But then you have these project shared ones, which is basically ones that for the project, anyone can use them, anyone can edit them. And then you have system shared ones, which are created by the administrator, and that you load those and then save it to your projects. You cannot edit those or modify them. Yes, you can do a save as. So once you load one of those, you can modify it. When you do save, it will be saved into your projects. Okay, so now let's do a simple query. So I actually get counts. I'm going to just do some demographics. So I'm going to do anyone age of 18 to 34. Okay, I'm going to find the patients. And then as you see, it's number of patients selected. You have your typical breakdowns. You have your more advanced breakdowns, thanks to Michelle Morris. And then this one. And then you have these data requests. And as you see, there's the data request June 10th demo, which is the one we did earlier. And then we have i2b2 demo second day. And this is the one that we just created. So I'm going to select that one. And then if you, once you select any of these data requests, it will automatically select the patient set for you because it needs a patient set in order to export the data. And as you see, it says required for data export. So now we're going to run this query. Undo this. And now we have 23,000 patients, and that data request has been submitted to the manager. The manager gets an email. Oh, my email. This is my phone. Oh, I see I have a data request, so I'm going to log in and review that. I'm actually going to do a second one. Yeah, you can make as many of these data. So you want two separate CSV files or one CSV? Um, okay, so. Okay, so now I'm going to log in as a manager. I created a second request, which I'm going to show the reason I did that. Log in. I'm going to go to my tools, and I'm going to go to export, and I'm going to go to data request manager. Okay, and as you can see, there was these two requests that were submitted. This is the one I just submitted. And so you can look at the view details of it. And then you can go back and click on this. It will show you the query of it. You can add comments, like for example, you can say need IRB. Okay, and then, so for example, let's say when someone submits it, they have to provide an IRB. This person did not submit it with an IRB number. So then I can change the status to denied, save that, and then they'll resubmit it with the proper IRB number. I just want to show you how you can deny a request. And then if we go back to the list of requests, you can see that this one was denied. Let's imagine that this one's perfect. They put the IRB number and they did everything correct. You click on create files. You click OK. And then it says file and process. So right now what it's doing is i2b2 is creating the files for this request, saving it onto a directory within one of those parameters that I had mentioned earlier in the PowerPoint presentation. And so, because this is a small request, you can do refresh. Wait a second. And it says file available, okay? And then, so normally for your institution, then it would be put on some file system, and then the manager or whoever, the data export person, would then look at the files, approve them, and then somehow move them to where the user can actually access them. For this demo, I created a little link temporarily. June 20th. So I created basically a symbolic link within my Linux system so that I can actually access those files. So everything it was broken down. So this is what it would look like if you were looking at the file structure. So the project is node 9, and then the query master ID is this number. Today it's 11:30, so this is the one that we just ran. So this is what you would the manager would see if they went to the file system, and they would see a letter. And then in that letter, this is also a high param configuration. You can put whatever you want. It says that this is your data number of patients. Your query was submitted on this. So this is just like an introduction of that. But then you can actually look at the data. So if I download it, so this is the definition of it. And so this has like the table name, the instance name, like who ran it, which group it was for, and then this was like the breakdown of all what was requested. We go back to here and then look at this 1 meg file. Open that one. Okay. So this is the actual data. This has the patient number, the gender and age, the race, and then these is this was all that breakdown that we had configured when Jeff was with me right here, and we were like, let's do this, let's add that. So as you can see, it's like yes and no for these, whether they have it. This is the number, and yes, 0. I guess, oh yeah, there's a 6 here. So this is the count of the number of counts that person had of this, of that concept. So what else is there? Yeah. I mean, actually, let me do one more export. I'll do one of the regular ones. Because this is the pivoted table one, which is really useful. But then you might want, go back here. I'm going to do find patients. I think we still have time. We have plenty of time. Okay. So find patients. And then in here we have requests, diagnosis, data, lab, medication. I'm not going to. So I'm going to do medication and procedures. And so these are kind of predefined ones. And so I'm going to run this. So the user I'm logged into is a manager. So manager could run their own queries. And we got an error. No, try diagnosis or demographics. If not, then I guess I should have tested this. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
It would show up in
right. So it would look like this one. So if we had done demographics and it was successful, this example just has one patient, but it would show you like the i2b2 number, the birth date, death date, gender. So basically everything you would see normally in the patient dimension table. But you can configure it to have the titles how you want it, or the columns set in a certain order. So that is the export in the 182 and the 183.
Anyone have any questions?
Hi, Jeff and Mike, thank you for that. I have a question. You said that there's ability for project manager to save a project-specific export, and there's also system shared exports available, like an admin can go in and create those. And I'm wondering, the ones that the admin creates, are they creating that specifically for one project, or is that something that's shared across all the projects?
It's shared across all the projects.
Yeah, so for the admin, there are templates that then can be used to build tables for a project. So.
Okay. Okay.
Instead of a bunch of standard concepts.
So I have a question then. I'm a little bit concerned that if there's something that an admin creates that they want to share across multiple projects, but not all of the projects are using the same ontology, then,
Actually, I misspoke.
oh, okay.
It's not across all the projects, it's just that project.
Oh, but the admin.
The admin ones are just that project.
Is that right? Okay.
Well, you'll let us know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's in the RPDO table, and that's in the data, that's in the CRC. It's not in the HUD.
Right, so if you have multiple CRCs, it wouldn't show up, but if you had multiple projects using the same CRC,
Yes,
then you would see them.
yeah, then you would have it.
So you could point to different ontologies.
Yeah. Oh, the admin. So the system shared ones are here. And because I'm actually an admin, I can edit them. But you can only edit the name. The project ones are here where you can also edit them. But, yeah, that's a hierarchy.
So at the top of the system shared tables, which system administrators can define, and then users or project managers can create custom tables based on those. The project shared tables are below that, and those are for a particular project and can be saved by the manager. And then my tables are just the tables that the logged in user can see.
When you do a run query and that pop up, only the project ones and the my table show up.
Or questions? No? All right, how about a round of applause then? Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Mike. Before we break for lunch, I just wanted to invite Diane Keogh to the podium once more.
So we've heard a lot from Mike and Jeff and Mitch and Sean and Griffin and Michelle and a lot of Mark, about a lot of different people. But there's a group of people that we have not recognized yet who are really a group of true unsung heroes. Y'all know who you are from the Harvard Catalyst team. They're giving me dirty looks. So Harvard Catalyst is the Harvard CTSA that, and the informatics group does a lot of the development of i2b2, works very closely with the i2b2 team. And so I really would like them all to come up here. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to say anything. Come on. And Nick and Thomas and Martini and Perminder, and they're giving me dirty looks. And Mark, who of course is the professional MC of this thing, is also the person that does all of the corralling and project management of these folks.
And best voice in the business.
In best ways. So anyway, just give this group really. So there's a lot of people behind this i2b2 stuff. It's not just a small group. So I wanted to really recognize these folks. And if somebody could take a picture and send it to me, Sean, could you do that? And am I allowed? I'm actually part of this group too. I don't really do the work.
And smize.
Thank you. Anyway.